Hello and welcome once again to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove. I'm here every day for the World Cup and I'm joined by a man who's also here every day with his coffee. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. Yep. 3 cups as of 10:43 in the morning.
Loving those early kickoffs.
Yes.
Loving those early kickoffs. So what style did you go with today?
I think we went with the house blend from the Verismo, the Starbucks Verismo.
Yes.
Again,
which, by the way, I think is on the outs. They seem to be selling those pods less and less. We will be buying the very last ones as Verismo is wiped from the earth.
You're darn right we will. This is not a product placement. We are not sponsored by Starbucks, but we just very much enjoy our Verismo coffee maker.
Oh, and we should say
it's
thank
got the
you.
foam on top. It's lovely.
Thank you to Drew Tremel.
Yes.
He knows why. Thank
why.
you, Drew. Are you ready to talk about today's games? You seem caffeinated enough.
Am I? I've got opinions and hot takes and feelings.
Do you really?
No.
Oh,
but I do have theories.
Theories, even better. Okay, so the only game we've seen so far, because it being 10:45 Eastern, is Denmark-Australia. If you don't want to know the score, really you shouldn't have clicked play until you'd seen it. But I can give you a spoiler warning anyway. Spoiler coming in 3, 2, 1. It finished 4-2-3-1-1, 4-2-3-1-1. Denmark won, Australia won.
I'm really enjoying your summaries via team name.
That is what happened there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it was a really nice slice volley, I'm going to call it, from Eriksson inside the first 10 minutes.
He shot it into the goal, Daryl.
Don't you dare. Then an equaliser from Australia from the penalty spot, also in the first half, 37th minute.
You got it.
Australia got their Varma.
Yep.
Which is a portmanteau of karma and VAR.
Yeah. I just want to say, I tweeted this out as like it could be a couple different options, and Daryl was just emphatic, like, no, it's Varma. Like you were having none of it.
Puns have rules. Puns have rules.
Do they?
I mean, yeah.
The number one rule is that they're never funny.
So incorrect. Okay, we'll talk about Varma maybe later. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Christian Eriksen's goal first.
Let's do it.
Here's my hot take. Mm-hmm. I think Eriksen's going to obviously get a lot of the credit because it's very nice and aesthetically pleasing.
It's a half volley on the bounce, man.
Yeah, and the way he slices it, right, with his lefty. But I think actually a lot of the credit goes to the less famous but great supporting cast, right?
Yes.
Best supporting actor Oscars go to Lasse Schöne and I've forgotten his first name, but number 9, the striker, Jorgensen.
Nikolai
Jorgensen. And I think you agree with me based on our conversation while we were watching.
First of all, I agree with you that, yes, to win a Best Actor category, you do have to have a good cast around you, because if you're acting against a cardboard box, it's going to be tough to emote.
But that's a good metaphor for Christian Eriksen, the number 10 on this Danish team. Everyone knows he's the star player, but I think they're doing a good job of supporting him in a way that puts him in the best possible positions, literally, to strike left-footed shots at goal.
Yeah, because, I mean, if, again, continuing the analogy, if he's acting opposite somebody who just is standing there waiting for him to do stuff, he's not going to be able to do stuff. But if they're making runs and winning the ball back and distracting defenders, then it's leaving him opportunities to get those shots and get those goals.
And for Schöne, Schöne was just doing his job, right? He's the reserve defensive midfielder. He's in for Kvist.
Yep.
But as Aaron Moy attempts to clear a ball for Australia with his head, he just heads it downfield, basically. Schöne steps and wins and plays the ball into the feet of Jorgensen. So, Schöne, job done. Very, very small role. He's probably not best supporting actor. More of an ensemble type thing.
Yeah.
More of a minor role. But he was credited, right? He wasn't an extra.
He's Paul F. Tompkins in There Will Be Blood.
Brilliant. No, doesn't he not appear on screen in the end?
You see the back of his head out of focus, and you can hear him screaming off camera. Yeah.
There you go. He's Paul F. Tompkins in There Will Be Blood. But then he gets the ball to Jorgensen, who I think does great uncredited work here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it's a smart little run that also, because he's so big, he himself not little, it's a good little run, but he pulls both of Australia's centre backs with him.
Yes, Milligan. So it's Sainsbury and Milligan. I think Sainsbury's on Jorgensen. Once Jorgensen takes the first touch, Milligan comes over to help because there's he can sense the danger. That leaves the gap that Christian Eriksen ends up running into.
Yes.
But it's more than that, right? Because the way he receives the ball, it should be very hard for Jorgensen to set up Eriksen from there. But he manages to do a weird outside of the foot half settle, half pass. He cushions it into the path of Christian Eriksen.
He cushions it and then passes, maybe? It might be 2 touches.
Well, I'm calling it like a cushion pass.
I gotcha. Yeah. Okay. But it's interesting because you spotted that later on, I think in the 25th minute, he does the same thing, only this is a long ball over the top that he settles at the outside of his foot. So that seems to be his preferred style of cushioning the ball to allow play to continue. It's a difficult
thing to do.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go ahead and say Danish Zuber. That's what Jorgensen is. And I mean that by saying he's sort of underrated striker, right? Because coming into this tournament, I was all about Yusuf Poulsen. I was all about Piano Sisto. I was all about Christian Eriksen. I didn't really have strong feelings about the qualities of Jorgensen. Watching this game, I now do. I think he's very useful.
I agree. Anything else to say about this goal? Because I have one more thing. I do think
I'll just be listening to you.
I've seen like Alexi Lalas has said that this World Cup is all about like set pieces.
It's all
restarts,
about VAR. Restarts.
We'll get to VAR in just a second. One thing that hasn't been talked about, but you and I have mentioned a few times, and it feels like it's an underrated narrative, is the importance of counterpressing. Because it did seem like Australia were doing a decent job of bunkering, of shielding the back four, of not letting Denmark really get any open space. Christian Eriksen getting marked pretty consistently. But it is, as you said, it's Moy trying to head the ball clear, and you can see the Australian players stepping out 2 or 3 yards. They're ready to break and get into an attacking position. And when they're doing that, when Shona comes through and wins that ball, now they're all 2 or 3 yards out of position. And I think that factors majorly in this goal.
Yes, so it's definitely... I think it might be, honestly, that we're just getting a little better at spotting counter-pressing when it happens. So there's that happening. I thought you were going to say it was the summer of target men, because that is starting to be a narrative as well.
Counter-press and target.
Counter-press and target. Okay, 1-0 to Denmark. Yep. It's looking bad for Australia. They lost the first game. They're looking at defeat here. They were going to be exiting the World Cup if they lost this game. But and obviously the story in Australia, just so everyone knows, is they were very angry about that penalty that was given against Risdon for the tackle on Griezmann in the first game.
Yes.
We suggested that maybe everything would even itself out with VAR, because soccer does have a weird way of doing that, right? At least anecdotally. That's exactly what happened.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
Corner kick, crossed in. It's Lecky gets ahead to it. Yusuf
corner
Poulsen
taken by Moy, comes in.
Lecky gets his head to it. Yusuf Poulsen jumps with him, and as Lecky heads it, Poulsen's arm is in the air, hits him. Referee doesn't give penalty kick, but you can see him go to his ear pretty quickly, right? Then it's reviewed. Mark Geiger up in the box. Does some video assistant refereeing.
And I think it's slightly confusing because the referee, what was his name? I have it written down somewhere.
Antonio Matteo.
You see him put his finger in the air, index finger up, and he waves it back and forth as if to say, like, no, there's no penalty there.
As the Australian players are appealing for penalty
Yes, and that might make some people think then, well, if he saw it, why is this going to VAR? And my guess, because it's cleared back down the field, he's running down, then he blows the whistle to go have a look. And my guess is that he saw the header and he saw it impact Poulsen, but you can see how he would think, maybe not the best angle, but from like it happening live action, that he might have thought, oh, it hit his head or hit his shoulder. And so then he thinks, oh, no, it's not a handball. They're just calling for it because they want the penalty. Mark Geiger in his ear says, hey, that did hit his hand. Did you see that? He says, no, it goes to VAR. There we are.
It's almost as if there was a clear and obvious error
that
the video assistant referees caught and asked Matteo to review. Okay, so on review, I think it's still somewhat contentious. I think this is one of those calls you can argue either way.
I agree.
Right? So this is an odd position for a podcast to take, because in many ways audio works best if one person says it was definitely a penalty and the other person says it definitely wasn't. I think this really is just one of those on-the-line things that eventually Matteo just has to make a call either way.
I mean, I see where you're coming from. I'm in the same school, but I think I lean on the side of it was a penalty, because even if he's jumping and his hands go up when he's jumping, he being Poulsen, obviously, I still think he handles the ball. It is a header. That means like a header on target, which means it's a shot on target. So he is using his hand to block a shot on target.
Yep.
Even if it's unintentional, even if he's jumping and that's why the hand is in the air, I still think he could have jumped better or used his mechanics a little bit better so he doesn't put that arm up. So I understand.
The one defense I would give if I was a Denmark fan, or indeed if I was Yusuf Poulsen, is that one of the things in the FIFA laws that has to be taken into consideration of whether something is given as a foul for handball, for handling, or not, is the distance of the distance between the ball and the arm or hand when it strikes it. And I would argue that the way that when Lecky heads it and it hits Poulsen, it's not travelling very far, right? It's maybe a yard or so. So he doesn't have time to react and get his arm out the way. If I was Poulsen, I would be definitely making that argument. The problem is, it's really vague, right? That's left at the referee's discretion. There's no sort of... The distance has to be more than a yard and a half for you to give it. It's just the referee can decide how far is too far. How long is a piece of string, essentially, right?
And two things there. One, I'm going to assume that it varies, that it's not always, if it's within a foot, then it's not a penalty.
Yeah.
Because I think it can vary depending on like the velocity of the shot and the angle that it struck and the defensive
context,
position.
Right?
Yeah. That said, this is where I understand why people are frustrated with VAR, because if you slow it down and you look at it in super slow motion, then it obviously you're like, oh, he had 3 seconds to get his hand out of the way. When in that moment, as I said, the referee, I don't think could even tell that it was a handball. That's how quickly it happened.
Yeah.
So I do get that argument for slowing everything down is always going to make it look way worse.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it makes the referee look worse in many ways. So in some ways, referees just have to be... they just have to get thicker skin and just accept that the video has better eyes than they do.
Yeah, I mean,
they're human, non-Westworld eyes.
Mateo seems to have pretty thick skin. Later on in the game, I think somebody was complaining to him, and he just said no and walked away. So
really?
That works, yes. And then we did have a couple questions. I myself was curious. The reason why Poulsen then gets that yellow card is because handling a shot on goal, it's an automatic yellow card. Unless it's clearly going to be a goal, then it's a red card. That's what happened for Colombia and Sanchez.
So what, Carlos Sanchez, it was a Kagawa shot that he was going at goals and his arm was in the way.
Yep.
That's the red card because it's Dogso, right?
Yep.
Denial of goal-scoring opportunity. One final thing on Poulsen, if you indulge me. I think you mentioned this at the start of this conversation. Because you could say, oh, his arm's just in the air because he's jumping.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a thing I half believe in, that you have to use your arms to propel yourself up through the air. But you also can do that and keep your arms in and down a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And the thing that maybe leans me towards thinking this penalty is definitely okay is that Yusuf Poulsen is 6'4", whereas Leckie is 5'11", right? And I know that there are different jumping styles, but maybe Poulsen doesn't need the extra advantage of, reaching up and grabbing onto imaginary air like a mime and propelling himself upwards. Because then, if anything, as our friend Albert would say, you're making the referee, or in this case, the video assistant referee, make a decision by waving your arms around.
Exactly.
Yeah? Don't put him out there, you won't get called for it. Yeah. So Sergio Ramos puts his hands behind his back when he's facing the shot.
Hey, that's why he's the GOAT when it comes to not conceding penalties. I don't know. I think he does
with
that
his hands,
himself. Yeah.
Not with his hands.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, I'd like to talk a little before we move on about the shape of this game.
Sure.
We talked about the 4-2-3-1. It looked to me like Australia really had trouble breaking Denmark down, and especially because you could argue that once it's 1-1, Australia should have been the team really taking it to them because they lost the first game. A point's really not great, right? In the second game, they really needed a win to keep their World Cup firing.
Yep. And I think part of that was probably that they were concerned about the long ball opportunities for Denmark as well as the craftiness of Christian Eriksen.
Yeah, even if you open yourself up too much, you suddenly give Christian Eriksen room to play, right? If he can start getting in gaps between your midfield, Christian Eriksen can cause you all sorts of damage. But I felt like Australia maybe just needed to take a little more risk a little earlier and maybe roll the dice a bit and try and get 3 points.
I don't think you're wrong. And I think you did see them try to do that on occasion. I think part of it was that Denmark were doing a very good job of blocking off Jedinak and Moy specifically. So I think it was
the two
difficult.
deepest midfielders.
Yeah, I think it was really difficult for Australia to find any rhythm playing through there. So then you started to see them look more directly at Australia's left side, Denmark's right side. And we kept seeing attack after attack come down that channel. And it seemed like the more they started to target that, the more opportunities they got.
Yeah, and the fullbacks got higher and higher, right?
For Australia. Certainly not for Denmark.
No, Behic and Risdon were getting higher and higher. Almost they were auxiliary wingers towards the end. So maybe Australia did go for it in their own somewhat restrained way.
I think so. Because, bringing on Arzani and seeing what he did, dribbling at people, trying to change things up.
So Arzani is a newish addition to the Total Soccer Show scouting network. So I got very excited when he came on.
Oh, yeah.
He really delivered.
He sure did.
He sort of opened things up just by doing that young, talented Marcus Rashford type thing of, I'm just going to dribble and see what happens. And it really cracked Denmark open at least twice. There was the one where he combined with Risdon, dribbled from left to right, combined with Risdon, got down the wing, beat Pione Sisto with a nice little move, I believe, and then fired it across the 6-yard box that easily could have resulted in Australia's second goal. I just wish we'd seen some of that earlier.
I agree, and I hope Didier Deschamps, I know he's out there busy fooling around and changing his formations and everything, but
4 minutes to France kickoff, by the way.
I hope that somebody in the France coaching squad is watch this game and picks up some pointers, because I really do think you have the blueprint for how to beat Denmark. I think Australia showed that Pione Sisto is not a defender. He really struggled in 1v1 defending situations.
And we're fans, but yeah.
Yeah, and so I think you saw him do the thing that some people do when they don't feel so confident in their defensive ability, is they drop deep, because then they're like, well, at least I won't concede space, but then suddenly it gives Australia more room to operate. I think a
lot of people, even professional footballers, think just going deeper is the same as defending.
Yep, not so much. And then I think coming down Denmark's right side, I think those fullbacks staying back, it gives you opportunities. And the one thing I want to mention now, because I will probably forget it when we preview France-Denmark, is that Australia twice created very difficult situations for Denmark by getting to the end line and then driving it in low. Once it megged Kasper Schmeichel, once he came for it and didn't get to it. But if you get a man like Olivier Giroud in the box, he's going to finish that because he is Olivier Giroud.
Well, speaking of Olivier Giroud, we just took a break and watched that game. Mm-hmm. We saw France v Peru with Olivier Giroud.
We certainly did.
And we're about to spoil it. We're about to review it. So if you don't want to know about it just yet, here's your spoiler warning. Très de un. It finished. That was correct, right?
I think so.
It finished France 1, Peru 0. Giroud didn't score. He maybe didn't even get an assist. I'm not sure if it'll be credited or not. But Kylian Mbappe got the goal for France.
He sure did. The stat I'm seeing is that Mbappe unassisted. So it's all Kylian Mbappe and no one else, obviously.
So we'll get to that goal, right? Because that's obviously the main highlight for most people from this game. We're going to focus on a man who didn't get enough attention. And based on some Twitter searches that we conducted, actually a lot of people think had a very bad game.
Yep.
But we think he is the key to this entire France victory.
Absolutely.
His name is Blaise Matuidi.
You are correct, my friend.
So the story was in L'Equipe, right? Yesterday, the preview, that Didier Deschamps was going with a 4-2-3-1 against Peru. And part of that 4-2-3-1, the left winger was going to be Blaise Matuidi.
Yep.
Which really sticks out like a sore thumb as this man is out of position. What is he doing?
Yep.
And I know from what we've seen from reactions, people have been thinking, yeah, he really didn't do anything out there. Nothing happened out there.
That's the theory.
The point.
Exactly, yeah. And we were kind of confused about this as well. Why would you go Blaise Matuidi, who usually plays centrally, usually is more like an 8 or like more defensive? And that's why, is because we realized in watching the first half that Luis Advincula, the right back for Peru, not
maybe the fastest player at the World Cup.
Yeah, it's like I think he's right now second behind Ronaldo. We'll see if that changed today. But basically, he has like blazing speed, not the best technical ability, it seems. And so, but I think France were so worried about him on the counter that they put Matuidi out there essentially just to stay with Advincula and then focused on France's right side to make sure that Advincula didn't get the ball in a counterattacking situation, and it totally worked.
So this was the Deschamps France plan. Don't let Advincula run at us from right back. So Matuidi man marks him, but doesn't stay tight to him.
Nope.
He stays maybe 5-10 yards off him.
When he's close, and then when he's not, he's still like 20 yards away, I'd say. So, but it's still close enough that he can get to him. And this is what I mean when I say that Advincula maybe isn't as technical as some of the other Peruvians, is that Matuidi seemed very much content for him to cross or to play the ball centrally, but not for him to go past Matuidi down to the end line and then drive the ball in.
All right, so we watched this whole game. We paid attention to this. I don't want to call it a battle, more like a fire that was put out on France's left, Peru's right, between Advincula and Matuidi. Would you say Advincula didn't go past Matuidi once? Because I don't think I saw it happen. I think Matuidi was 100% successful in his mission.
I don't think he did, and to the extent that then you started having Carrillo stay on the far right side. Carrillo started as like a right winger, and then you'd have him stay on the right side to try to maybe pull Matuidi back and to create some space.
No dice.
That didn't work either, because then you had not Pavard, Hernandez cheating over just to make sure that was covered, and it seemed like it was a very overall sound strategy from Didier Deschamps, who I believe about 5 minutes ago I made fun of. So apologies to him, because I think he got his tactics perfect in this game.
And you already mentioned it, but France doubled down on this don't let Advincula run at us with his pace by putting their fastest player, Kylian Mbappe, first away from Advincula, so that when Kylian Mbappe accelerates, he's not near a fullback that can catch him. Right? All due respect to Traco, who's playing left back for Peru. But also, it seemed to me all of, or at least the first choice of all France's attacks, were to go down the right and get the ball to Kylian Mbappe. Not just because he's Kylian Mbappe, which actually is a good enough reason to focus on giving him the ball and letting him open things up, but also because if you're attacking down the right, then you're about as far as you can be from Advincula. And if you cough up the ball, the guy countering is the left back Traco, not the right back Advincula.
And that's the thing, right? Because it's not just that like Advincula is this player who can never be caught, and as soon as he gets the ball, he'll score. But the idea would be that if France, for example, there's one moment when Samuel Umtiti collects the ball and he looks to his left, and you can see him sort of make the decision to turn and play it to Antoine Griezmann on his right. And I think that's because if he gives it to Matuidi and Matuidi drives forward with the ball, if he does get dispossessed, suddenly he is 40 yards out of position. And I think they were always reticent to play that ball wide to Matuidi. They always looked to the right where they had more numbers, and I'd say pacier numbers.
And as in the first game of today, the France goal came from a counter press.
A counter press?
A counter press. And I want to sort of pause here and maybe explain the concept of the counter press, because we skimmed over it a little bit in the first game, just in case we have listeners who don't understand what the counter press is. I think it's a really important concept. It is essentially when you are attacking, your attack breaks down, the defense then have the ball, they try to counter-attack you, you win the ball off them as they're trying to counter-attack you.
Yep.
And the idea is they're all out of position because they've started flooding forward as part of the counter-attack. But you win it back and then you go straight at them. One, you're near to their goal. Two, their team shape is all over the place. They do not have an Iran-style versus Spain defensive shape. Yep. So three, or equals, means that you are more easily able to score a goal. All right. Exactly. So why was this France goal a counter press?
Sure. It's basically because France go down the field, lose the ball, Peru start a counterattack, and N'Golo Kante steps in, as he did so often in this game. He then starts another attacking move that breaks down. The ball is played out of the back by Peru to Paulo Guerrero, who tries to turn with it, and it's just a little too loose of a touch, and it's basically tackled by Paul Pogba, who does like the standing up, knock you off the ball, and now I have the ball. Yeah. I am the captain now. I will drive forward and play in Olivier Giroud.
It's a little bit like he sees Kante do it. The little guy can do it. The big guy can do it as well. So Paul Pogba wins the ball off Guerrero, and then France are away.
Indeed. And that's where the brilliance of the counter press comes into play, because, and especially the double one, you basically have Peru sort of compact, but they're not in the position they want to be in. They have a couple numbers like too far to the right, they have one too far to the left, and so they're trying to scramble to get in the right shape, but they're also trying to scramble to deal with the runners from France and the obviously very potent attack. And so you get a lot of, I believe it is as soon as that turnover happens and Paul Pogba has the ball, who's the defender, Rodriguez for Peru.
Center back?
He spots, oh no, Olivier Giroud is wide open, and he goes sprinting back. But in so doing, he tries to make up ground. He doesn't really do that, but he does drop about 4 yards behind the rest of the defenders. So suddenly now the offside trap is completely broken.
Okay, and the ball gets to Giroud.
Yep.
Giroud shoots from a weird-ish angle, and it takes a deflection off. Is it Rodriguez or is it the other centre back or another defender is there, right? It takes a deflection off of a Peruvian defender, then pops to the right. Kylian Mbappe's there to tap in what is essentially a rebound or a deflection.
Yeah.
Traco, the left back, hasn't caught him, right?
Because he is essentially ball watching and seeing what's happening.
He thought he was going to be joining the attack. Right? Suddenly he's back defending.
And that's what happens again with the counter press, is that you're not in that position to like be facing the field and know where your mark is. You're sort of like, oh, the ball's over there. I'm kind of paying attention to the ball. I'm kind of paying attention to my man. And in the end, you're not really paying attention to either.
Can we come up with a different name for it? Because I always feel slightly pretentious saying counter press. I don't know why. It almost feels too technical and jargony. I want a phrase that maybe describes it better. I'm buying you a little time. I can see the wheels turning
nothing, so
over there.
It's on you, my friend.
I'm thinking of like the snapback or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Because you someone's trying to do something to you and you just do it right back to them.
I'm trying to think of like the yo-yo. I don't know. the yo-yo attack.
Well, if anyone has any better names more fun names for a counter press, please tweet them at us at Total Soccer Show.
I'm just trying to think of all of the memes I've seen of people trying to do something clever. Like it's like have you ever seen the one where the drunk guy punches the stop sign and the stop sign spins around and hits him in the face?
Yes.
That's what it feels like, because you're like, we're going. Oh no, we're in trouble. Like it feels very much like hoisted by your own petard, if you will.
Actually, maybe it should be called the Oh No You Didn't.
The Captain Picard, because I always want to say hoisted by my own Picard. That's what I'm calling it right now.
That's our best working theory?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's nonsense, and you'll never be able to figure out why if you didn't listen to this 30-second conversation.
Oh, yeah, that's the key to all great podcasts, is to have in-jokes that no one else gets.
Perfect.
Okay, so with a Captain Picard counter-attack, France go 1-0 ahead.
It is something he would do, to be fair. He is that sort of innovative commander that he would...
He does have some good strategy on the day.
Captain, excuse me. He's not a commander.
He does have some good... I think he's an admiral by the time he retires.
My bad.
We're definitely getting too far into Star Trek The Next Generation. So
Jean-Luc Picard, if ever there's a time to talk about him, it's when France is playing.
This is true. We do have Peru make some changes at half-time, right? They pull off your tuna defensive midfielder and put in another forward in Jefferson Farfan. And I think Edison Flores, who had been an attacking midfielder, is asked to go more central. But they still end up with roughly the same shape, and it's not really enough to cause France any problems, I don't think.
I don't think so either.
No? So, yeah, I feel bad for Peru, but I didn't think they ever had a really serious plan B that caused France any problems.
No, I think they tried. And the other thing is that I didn't feel like there was a consistent approach in the second half. It felt like sometimes it was ping it long to Guerrero, sometimes it was ping it to Farfan, sometimes it was try to dribble forward. It just didn't. It felt like they were trying a lot of different things without any sort of consistency to establish patterns to find vulnerabilities.
And here's a thing I noticed about France that I didn't realize they have. France knew how to kill this game.
Yep.
I think, didn't you tweet that they joined CONCACAF?
Yeah.
So it all starts for me in the 75th minute when Kylian Mbappe, goal scorer, main threat, is substituted for Ousmane Dembele. He walks.
I think he's still substituting right now.
Yeah. It is a slow walk.
Yep.
Mbappe is on the right wing. The substitution area is on the left wing, basically. He very slowly walks from one side of the field to the other.
He jogs.
It's like a fake jog that's somehow slower than
he could
walking,
walk faster, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He definitely could walk faster than he jogged.
100%.
Shakes the hand of every France player he finds along the way, and some Peruvians. Right? Yeah. Doesn't he shake a couple of Peruvian hands?
Yeah.
And refuses to... I mean, he knows what he's doing, right?
Oh, no, I mean, to the point where one of them, I think... either won't shake his hand or shakes his hand but says, get off the field. And he stops to be like, why are you being mean to me?
Christian Cueva says, why don't you go off this side?
Oh, yeah,
it's right there.
There's that one, but then when he continues to walk to the area where he's going to be substituted, he stops to shake hands with a Peruvian, and one of them says something, and he stops to talk to them about why would they say something to him. And again, he does a good job. You never see him break character. There's no smiles. He never gives away what he's doing, but it is 100% obvious what he's doing.
He has a future in sort of deadpan acting, right?
Yes.
Yeah, his face does not change. He really kills a good minute or so
with no card, which I was surprised by.
The ref was talking to him. The ref was the ref had his arm around his waist and hurried him along.
Yeah.
I absolutely think he deserved a yellow card.
Yeah.
I respect his game. I really... I'm impressed by his willingness to do this to make sure his country wins a soccer match. But the ref should have said, hey, it's a yellow card unless you actually hurry up and stop wasting time. And then, assuming that he kept doing what he's doing, definitely a yellow card for Kylian Mbappe.
Agreed. And two other things here. One...
Because he can run fast.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, they've seen him do it the entire game. One is that usually I would say, yeah, but it doesn't really matter that much because you're counting on the official to add that time on. And we've had that in games we've played where the official's like, look, I'm just adding it on. Take it all the time you want. I'm just adding it on. But this World Cup, they seem to have been instructed to rigorously enforce that stoppage time. So if there's 4 minutes added on,
go beyond.
Yeah, it feels like as soon as we hit to 4, they're blowing that whistle. And so there is a little bit of that makes it worse.
On top of that, it's not really as simple as you lose some time here, but hopefully you gain it when the ref adds it on. There's the momentum that you lose as you're chasing the game, and then the frustration that you feel as you're getting mad at Kylian Mbappe, and that makes you make worse decisions later in the game. You know what I mean? So it really does have a big knock-on effect.
100%.
And then, excuse me.
I was going to say, and then it's intensified. My second point was going to be that it's intensified by the fact that I think the next sequence, ball goes into the corner, Olivier Giroud just holds the ball in the corner. It's like, it's the 75th minute, man. You do that when it's the 89th minute, but if you're France, you're trying to kill that game off and again frustrate Peru.
They did it early without bunkering and putting everybody behind the ball, but just by possessing and not really going for goal and taking their time with free kicks and throw-ins. They really professionally, I mean, I know they're all professional, but really cynically, in a good way, saw this game out to the end. Finishes 1-0 to France.
It does, and I know there are many people who were unimpressed by this performance. I think a lot of people really wanted to see Peru get a result so they could stay, have some eligibility to make the knockout round.
Peru out?
They're out. So I think that colors why people were so frustrated with France. I think this is the first time I've seen France play and thought, oh, they're a contender. If they can figure out these strengths in their opposition.
Like the Advent Cooler thing?
Yeah, target them, negate them, but then also at the same time play into their own strengths. I think that's really fascinating and something that other teams should take note of going forward in this tournament.
Yes, I agree 100%. Before we discuss Argentina versus Croatia, no spoilers just yet right here, today's show is sponsored by The Athletic. The Athletic is sponsoring the Total Soccer Show. Full disclosure, Taylor and I are writing for The Athletic and also advertising for The Athletic. It's all athletic all the time.
It seems that way. We've got a lot of athletic to discuss right now.
But we're proud to be involved because they really are publishing some great soccer stories over at The Athletic Soccer. We've chosen 3 to just tease you with, just give you little teasers on each story that I think represents a good sampling of what The Athletic has to offer.
All right, what you got?
I would start with, let's go with a story by Joseph Lowry, who you may know as Joe in Cleats on Twitter. He's done a real tactical deep dive on Senegal's win over Poland. If you read through this story, it's basically he details more or less exactly what Senegal have done with screenshots and graphics to really explain it to you. Mm-hmm. So if people enjoyed maybe our tactical breakdown of Senegal, they may enjoy Joseph's even more.
There we are. And then
if you do, don't let us know.
If you're looking for something slightly lighter, you've got World Cup panic rankings, each team's fear level after one match from Adam Snavely. It's very good, ranked from 32 to 1. He goes through the teams. It probably needs to be updated given some of the results from today. Again, no spoilers. But yeah, I think there's some teams that are definitely slightly more panicky since this one was written, so maybe he'll revisit it. But there's definitely some great content in there.
One small spoiler from the article, I won't say which team it is, but one team was using Google Maps for directions and only has 2% battery left.
I think that might be paraphrasing, but we'll roll with it anyway. What's the third thing you like, Daryl?
There was a big feature by Paul Tenorio on Efrain Alvarez, the 16-year-old phenom who is a Mexican-American and hasn't fully settled on a national team yet, but is currently with the Mexican U17s. So this is some almost proper old-school journalism that Paul Tenorio is doing for The Athletic. He went to the Alvarez family home in Los Angeles and talked to Efrain Alvarez and Efrain Alvarez's dad, and really talked about the idea of being Mexican-American and what that means. And you really get an insight into what it feels like to be both and to be forced to choose, and what that's like for Efrain Alvarez and his family.
And here's why I could never do what Paul does, because Paul is a legitimate journalist who can go there.
Are you not legit?
No, well, more so that I think even with all of that, and it's a very interesting read, and there's a lot of, you get a better understanding of who Efrain Alvarez is and where he's coming from. Yep. But if it were me, I'd just be like, come on, play for the USA. Come on.
You're more like a registered agent.
A little bit.
Okay, so if you would like to read those 3 stories and the many, many more stories over at The Athletic, including some work from Taylor Rockwell and Darryl Grove, including one that has a co-byline, our first ever. Have a high five for a co-byline over there.
Sure.
You can get 40% off a subscription at The Athletic if you go to theathletic.com/TSS World Cup. Theathletic.com/TSS World Cup for 40% off. That offer cannot last forever. So go to theathletic.com/TSS World Cup today.
All right. So thank you to The Athletic for sponsoring today's program. Now we've got one more game to discuss. If you don't want the spoilers, 3, 2, 1. Wow.
3, 2, 1, wow. Yeah. Indeed. It finished Argentina 0, Croatia 3. 3-0 to Croatia. All kinds of drama. Great goal from Luka Modric. Great mistake from Willy Caballero. And bizarre tactics from Jorge Sampaoli. Taylor, where do you want to start?
I want to start with those tactics. Okay. From both sides. Because I do think...
Argentina first, I would argue.
Well, yeah, okay, we can do that. But I would say that I think a lot of people, the narrative is going to be... Can you believe what happened to Argentina? Leo Messi once again struggling. And I think it would be a disservice to not give Croatia their credit.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that we don't just talk about what Argentina got wrong. We certainly have to talk about what Croatia got right.
We watched the game. We also watched the tactics camp.
That's the key one
for this one, and we saw a lot of interesting shapes and movements that I think explain this game.
Yeah, and this is one of those games where I think you and I we had a tough time getting a read on the first half because it was very back and forth. It was open at times. It was ugly at times. And same thing with the second half.
Very foully.
Right up until those goals happen. If you go back and watch from the tactics standpoint, the tactics cam, it's one of those that you kind of never believe that Argentina are going to score. And you kind of are always expecting Croatia to eventually find a way through, because at any given point, you can see exactly what Croatia are trying to do at all times throughout this game. You see their shape, you see their system. And Argentina, I took a few screen caps, maybe we'll post those later. But it is, at one point, it looks like it's like a 1-3-4-1. It's just craziness, and I cannot for the life of me figure out why they chose to experiment at this stage.
So yeah, against Iceland...
Actually, I have an idea. I take that back. I can, for the life of me, have an idea.
Against Iceland, they tied 1-1. They played a 4-2-3-1, which is what Sampaoli, the coach, had settled on before the tournament. He'd rolled that out in a friendly against Haiti before. He'd used it before that as well. So this really was the system, 4-2-3-1. Messi is the number 10 underneath a striker, and then the fullbacks would really get forward and join the attack, right?
Yep.
And I would argue it wasn't horrible against Iceland. I think Iceland just did their defensive job, which we went into detail on the review, so well that, and Messi missed the penalty.
Yep.
That's why it finished 1-1. If they'd stuck with that shape, I think Argentina would be doing a lot better right now. I think Sampaoli panicked, and he tried to send Argentina into full Bielsa. He went 3-4-3, which sometimes, because of Mascherano's role, looked like a 3-1-3-3. What could be more Bielsa than a 3-1-3-3? But they looked like a team that didn't know how to play it. It wasn't set up to play it.
Yeah, I'm with you, because it feels like he kind of saw what happened against Iceland and thought, well, none of that worked. It's got to be blown up, and we got to start from scratch. And
Bathwater, baby, whole bathtub out the window.
And I think if they had waited and sort of just tinkered a little bit and changed some things around and worked on some more combinations and patterns of play, they would have been fine. But instead, they changed everything, and it felt very reminiscent of the U.S. under Klinsmann, when they kind of came out and didn't know exactly how to play in a back three, and you couldn't really see the connections, and you could see the players on their faces and in their demeanor that they didn't know what was expected of them. And I think you saw that again with this Argentinian team.
And I think the best example is Senor Tagliafico. So Tagliafico is a left back, right? Yep. In the initial 4-2-3-1 system, he was asked to, a little bit against what he normally does, get really far forward and be an attacker, right? In this 3-4-3 version, or 3-1-3-3 thing, he's the left side of a back three of centre-backs, and he wasn't comfortable there either. To me, he was the one that every time he got the ball, you would see him look wide for a pass, look forward for a pass, nothing was ever on, and then he'd either drop it backwards or panic a little bit, and that seemed really emblematic of all of Argentina's problems. They couldn't play out of the back.
But they couldn't play out of the back because it seems like they just expected Croatia to pack it all in and concede the channels, and Croatia did not do that. And so, but really they would only send one player wide, but that was enough to completely shut down that whole channel. And then, so you would see Tagliafico turn to look down the line for Acuna, and Acuna would be
mid/left wing back.
Yeah, and he'd be 30 or 40 yards up the field, and there'd be one player sort of like halfway between, but then that pass isn't on, and now there's nothing there, so Tagliafico has to go back to the middle. They'll play it forward to Javier Mascherano, who is one of the holding midfielders. He'll kind of look around and drop it back, and they really couldn't get into any sort of rhythm. And I think the player that most exemplified that was Leo Messi, strangely enough.
Ooh, okay. Before we get into Leo Messi, shall we talk about why no passes were on for Argentina? Sure. Maybe this is where we need to explain what we think, what we know. I'm pretty confident, especially after our time on the tactics cam, about what Croatia was doing. You saw it first, so I don't want to steal this point from you.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially they set up in a 4-1-4-1.
Which sounds kind of standard.
Yeah, but it was much more innovative than that in my mind, because essentially, usually what you would expect is your wide players to maybe stay a little bit further forward, and those other, like the two holding midfielders, or the two attacking midfielders, Modric and Rakitic, thank you, to drop in. Instead, they stayed high, and the wide players dropped in, and it basically left a line across the top that Argentina had to try to play through, and Brozovic just screening behind them, covering all of the gaps.
There's got to be a name for the role that Brozovic played, right? So he's like the one defensive midfielder, and he's just scampering left and right to block off any passes that might have come through to, say, Sergio Aguero or any of the other forwards. He's almost like in an old video game, when there's just like a line that keeps moving and you have to try and get past it. You know what I'm saying? You have to like on Mario, you have to time the jump when there's a boulder going back and forth. He's the boulder. So Croatia were like a video game that Argentina.
You're working very hard to get an analogy.
I think I've got one. I think Croatia were a video game that Argentina were very bad at playing. It was their first time on the video game.
Yeah, I mean, but really, you could just see them not have any answers, them being Argentina, and it would end up with them looking long more often than not. And I think, again, going back to it, if they had kept that 4-2-3-1, I think if you're a little bit more familiar, if you have that base understanding, you can then evolve from there and adapt from there. But if you're already adapting by changing your entire formation and trying to figure that out, then at the same time you're trying to figure out the opponent, it's too much to try to sort out on the fly, and you end up sort of going to like rote tactics of go long or try to play it to Leo Messi or have Leo Messi drop in and get the ball.
Cool. Can we also credit the wingers? So Rebic and Perisic, I've always thought about as, Perisic is fast, he dribbles at people, he goes left and right. Rebic I didn't know a lot about, but I kind of assumed similar things about him. They were a key to this whole Croatian tactical blockade type thing that they were doing, right?
Yeah.
So they were you mentioned before that the ball out wide to Acuna and it was Salvio on the right was never on. It was because of the positional sense and the blocking off that those guys did each time. Absolutely cut it out.
Yeah. I mean, and you could see it, and it's those gentlemen, obviously, but it's Rakitic and Modric as well. Even like the 85th minute when Croatia seemed like they've got it locked up, you will see Modric at one point, like I think he gets like too far forward and like is looking for a ball back. It doesn't come, and I think he like slips and falls, gets up, sprints back 40 yards, and gets exactly into that like lockstep position where he knows he's supposed to be. And again, sorry to keep hitting it, but I want to say you compare those two sides, and it was one team who were trying to figure it out, and it was one team who had been drilled, I'm going to assume mercilessly, that they knew every single time. They knew the angles. They knew who needed to step and when. They knew exactly where they needed to be, and I do think a huge part of it, and he probably won't get much credit, it's Brozovic again, because he was always the sort of metronome. You could see him turning and checking and making sure that everybody was
when
in the
he
exact...
had the ball?
Yeah, maybe metronome is the wrong one. He was more like the geolocator or something like that. He was always checking to see where he was in relation to the two center backs when they're defending. But then he is the basis for Rakitic and Modric. So they're checking off of him. He's checking off the center backs, but also making sure he's in the right position. And so you could just see the team constantly moving as a unit and shutting off options. And it really made it difficult.
He's the reference point.
The one I'm going to say is he's the if you're playing mini golf and you have to putt through the gorilla mouth that's opening and closing. He was the one that was making sure that gorilla mouth, it wasn't on a regular interval. It was always intermittent, so then you had no idea how to figure it out.
Is there a specific golf course that you're thinking of?
Yeah, putt, Adam Sandler movies, something like that. It might be a clown that does it in the end.
Maybe there's a Richmond one that has specifically that thing.
I don't think I've played putt in over 15 years. So,
well, neither of Argentina.
This is true.
It turns out. Do you want to talk about the goals, or do you want to talk about Leo Messi?
I think I want to talk about Leo Messi.
Okay.
Because he is a player who I have infinite respect for, but I have slightly less infinite respect for after this game. And it's not because he didn't take his opportunities. It's not because he was wasteful. It was just because, again, if you watch from the tactical cam, he's not involved. And I don't want to go down this road. We have made a point, not even intentionally, but we haven't gone down the Ronaldo versus Messi dialogue.
I'm not going there with you.
But I'll say this, Ronaldo, if he is captain and his team is losing, he is fighting and he is motivating and he is yelling and he is getting people up for it and he is working. And you watch, even after the first goal, which we can talk about in a sec, Messi walks back slowly to the center circle and stands there and doesn't talk to any of his teammates and adjusts his shin guards and there's no one in Argentina.
Doesn't console Caballero, doesn't give anyone any sort of message, doesn't say, hey guys, here's what we're going to do now. Just stands there, hands on hips.
And I think I might be totally wrong, but I think it was Perez when the ball goes in for the first goal. He sprints back, gets it out of the net, and dribbles it all the way up to the center circle where Messi is standing. And you can just see it. He dribbles with energy. He's we got to do this. And he gets to that center circle, and he kind of sheepishly lets the ball go and then walks back to his spot and then stands there and doesn't talk to anybody. And it just, in that moment, I was so surprised to just see Messi look for all the world like he was getting ready to retire from Argentina. That's really what it felt like in this game. And you watch from the tactical camera, and he's standing, he's staying deep, he's walking back. He just did not look interested except when he was on the ball, and even then it looked like he was ready to be frustrated.
I will say, to be something of a Messi's advocate, I think he sees his job as being to conserve energy, stroll around, and make sure he gets the ball.
Yeah.
Right? But the result of that is that he ended up strolling around and just getting the ball off of people who were already in good spots to have the ball themselves. The thing I saw way too much that I'm really disappointed in is he was essentially relieving people of the ball, if that makes sense. When there was no need for him to
his own teammates.
His own teammates. He was relieving his own teammates of the ball, then having a bit of a dribble at people, and then the attacks would mostly flounder, and then that was it. Right? There's no sort of buzzing around to be an option for someone.
Yeah.
He's not an option for someone. He's someone who walks over and demands the ball from you. That is not a system. That is not a system that a team can play. And then when Argentina are defending, he's not pressing. I think I said this in the preview. He's not pressing. Everybody else is pressing. He doesn't join in. That whole thing falls apart.
And I guess then it's one of two things. It kind of has to be necessarily in my mind.
I started off as Messi's advocate and I ended up slating him.
Well, here's what I'll say is that it's either Messi did not execute the game plan that he had been asked to execute, or, you're using words like he was strolling around. And if that was what he was told to do, then it's on Jorge Sampaoli 100%.
I think it's the latter. Sorry, no, you go ahead.
You cannot play a 3-1-3-3 and have Messi stroll around. It requires everybody to be moving and working. And if he said everybody...
to that Chile team, Bielsa team and the Sampaoli team.
I think this is the most animated you and I have been in a very long time.
Did more or less the same thing.
Yep.
No one was given special dispensation to stroll around and not be involved. Alexis Sanchez on that team was not told, all right, you're the talented one, you conserve your energy, don't worry about chasing people down, right? Messi seems to have been given that, and I think Sampaoli's quotes in the build-up to the World Cup, this is Messi's team more than mine when they're on the field, unquote. That's an actual thing that he said. You can't do the thing that Sampaoli's asking his team to do and carry a player who just wants to receive the ball and not do much else.
Yeah.
Too harsh?
I don't think so. Some people may find it to be, and I apologize if we hurt your feelings, which is a way of not apologizing. Because I love Leo Messi. I really do. Like, I know this
I love watching him play. I love watching him in full flow.
I think here's a roundabout way of explaining this. I think I was talking with you about, I read a thing that like they discovered fossils in like the 1870s or something like that.
Yeah, and that came out as a non sequitur in some other conversation.
It was probably the Uruguay game yesterday. But I think like my point was like, can you imagine like that's so sad because people before the 1870s then like didn't get to grow up imagining like dinosaurs. That'd be such a bummer.
Yeah.
And I consider myself very lucky to live in an age where I can imagine dinosaurs, but also in an age where I get to watch Leo Messi play every week.
Yes.
It is a privilege. He is that good of a soccer player. And I think then to see him today and see this moment that was screaming out for, you are one of, if not the greatest soccer players ever, I'm expecting to see you rebound, to see you take this team and make something happen. And it just felt like he was sort of over it. It felt like, I am frustrated. There were the moments when he would try to take the ball off of his teammates and he would try to dribble and dribble and dribble. And when he would get dispossessed, it would be stop and walk back slowly as Croatia countered. And it just didn't feel like the same Messi that we've seen for Barcelona and for Argentina teams in years past.
Is the problem that Sampaoli believed the hype that Messi is this like just world-class player, which he is, and that he can carry the team on his own? And Messi seems to believe the hype and think, all right, the best use of my energies for Argentina is to conserve them and then dribble at people when I get it and try and make not just selfish dribbling, but he would try to make combination plays. But you didn't see, for example, Messi pulling defenders away so someone else could exploit the space. That would be a good use of a star player.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be. And you didn't see that. And then I would say the other player that I found slightly frustrating, unless you have more to say about Messi.
I have one more thing about Messi, which is Croatia's approach to Messi.
Sure.
So the very smart thing is that Croatia, unlike Argentina and Sampaoli, did not get obsessed with Leo Messi. They focused on cutting off the passes out of the back, not like double man marking Messi or anything like that. If anything, they treated Messi like any other player when Argentina especially had the ball deep and were trying to play out. And Messi was the player least likely to do the work to get open. So therefore, he was weirdly the easiest to deal with.
Yeah, I would extend that.
Fair?
I would extend it further to say that there were almost sequences in which it seemed like Croatia were setting themselves up to have the ball go to Leo Messi, and it was always in situations when he was about 40 yards from goal. Because I think
when he came deep?
Yes, yeah, because then you basically got Messi, even if he has the ball, he's 40 yards from goal. If he's 20 yards, you don't want him getting the ball because he can slice through you. But from that distance, if he's going to try to dribble, and he did that a lot, tried to take on groups of Croatian players, there was even one sequence when I think he gets at 30 yards, he doesn't have anybody on him, and he beats maybe 3 players, but still ends up getting stuck. And I think Croatia were okay with him having the ball far away from goal, and they would set themselves up to defend elsewhere. And I do think other teams would have thought somebody's got to be on Messi at all times, and that becomes a distraction, and that becomes a problem because then you're losing one defensive player.
This is interesting. This goes back to maybe the France game we were talking about, where it's possible to just man mark someone like Advincula, who is, a dangerous player in his own way, but not a world great type player. So you can shut him down like that.
Yeah.
Right? So whereas with Leo Messi, maybe you just shut down the whole team and try and let them just depend on him in some weird way.
Yeah.
And that works as well.
Yeah, and it did.
Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And like the final thing, because it connects, is that sequence that I'm talking about when he dribbled through, got stuck, lost the ball. I mean, it was a bunch of tackles. He rode a bunch of challenges to his credit. He loses the ball. He starts walking, and I think it ends up with him. Basically, it ends up in a shot with Sergio Aguero that is saved, and then they go all the way back down and score Croatia. So it felt like
that's where the goal comes from.
It was him trying to dribble through. He had an option out wide. He turns, he plays it in. Somebody plays it into Aguero. Aguero shoots.
Yep.
And then they're away. And I don't think they're necessarily linked, but it feels linked in my head of Messi kind of not being able to find anything, and Argentina settling for a low percentage chance and leaving themselves vulnerable to a counter.
So it's not the direct cause of the goal.
No, not at all.
The direct cause of the goal is Willy Caballero.
Yeah.
But one of the direct causes of the goal, the indirect causes, I'm going to say, is Mario Mandzukic, who did a great job, sort of contra Messi, making himself available for the ball when Croatia had it all the time. He would come and be a target. In the build-up to the Caballero mistake and the Rebic goal, it's Mandzukic that comes deep, wins the flick on, right, and puts the ball down. Then Mercado has to chase it down, passes it back to Willy Caballero, and then the disaster happens.
Yes. One thing before we get to the disaster, I want to say this is the important thing about having that big target striker. We've talked about it with Zuba. We've talked about it with Mandzukic. He wins that he wins that challenge, he doesn't know he wins it. It doesn't hit his head. It hits like his back and goes wide. So it's just a matter of the big guy challenging that can be enough to put a defender off. And maybe it also intimidated Willy Caballero into thinking, I better make this right. And instead, he got it very wrong.
So he tries to, I can't remember who it's Rebic, right? Yeah. He tries to chip it over Rebic, right? Which you do sort of with your, what would you call that part? Like your big toe almost?
Like your laces.
Yeah, you chip with your laces. I think what he does is he ends up with his foot a little too square. So he almost gets half side foot, half laces.
It looks like a ballerina doing like the plie or whatever they are when the feet like point straight out.
Yes.
That's what it looks like when he tries to chip the ball.
And so that's why it goes up in the air but doesn't get any distance on it. And so Rebic, I think very wisely realises, maybe even sees the look of panic in Caballero's eyes.
Which is there.
And thinks, all right, don't give him any time to reset himself because Caballero's scampering backwards, right? And then Rebic just volleys it over Caballero's head into the top right corner.
Yeah.
And it's a moment.
It's an absolute moment, and it's an amazing hit because it goes like just over the hand, it drops just inside at the far post. But it is also, the second goal is a very good example of a counterpress, but I almost make this one as well because it is sort of Caballero makes a mistake, concedes possession, and then is backpedaling. Not saying he could have done anything else out of that situation, but it's him in that moment, it's vulnerable because we know if a goalkeeper has come out and then is backpedaling, they have made a mistake.
Yep.
And I think in that moment he's thinking, I don't know where I am in relation to the goal. I'm running backwards. It is a little bit I'm flying through the air right now. And so he's not focused on technique. He's focused on I've just made a horrible mistake. And by the time he realizes that, the ball's already in the net.
Oh. So at this point, there's still, like 35 minutes to go?
Something like that. Yeah, 37, something like that.
Argentina have time to fix this, right?
They do.
They can still fix this, but I don't think they make any of the necessary tactical adjustments. One of the problems, again, for Argentina is they never had, say, 2v1s going down the wing, so it made it very easy for Perisic and Rebic to block off. I believe Rebic gets a sub at this point.
I think he was calling for it about 2 minutes before, or maybe a minute before the goal happens when Messi is doing his dribble. You can see Rebic in the tactical cam like do the cycle gesture. He's calling for a sub, but then he is on his horse to get to the other end of the field for that goal.
But what I'm saying is the Argentina don't solve that problem. They never get two people double teaming out wide to make anything happen down there. So often you saw one wide player like Salvio or Acuna just up against one or two Croatian defenders, and they just never have a chance to get anything done. So Argentina don't solve any problems. Croatia give them more problems when Luka Modric scores an absolute beauty in roughly the 80th minute.
Yes, and so you have Christian Pavón come on for Salvio, and I think that is meant to maybe give them a little fresher legs out wide and maybe help solve some problems. Instead, it's sort of Pavón that causes a major problem because he gets the ball. Again, there aren't passing options down the channel through the middle.
That's the point, right? He's got no one to pass to, so he decides, well, I am Pavón, so let's go do some dribbling.
So he goes on a dribble, and it really all connects with everything we've been talking about because he goes on a dribble, he gets to about midfield, and the man who reads exactly what he's doing is Brozovic. Brozovic is standing there shielding the defense, filling the gaps, takes one little step to his left, pokes that ball away, and launches that counterattack. And now you've got Pavón out of position, you've got gaps in behind, and you've got Argentina scrambling.
Pavón's not just out of position. He instead of chasing Brozovic, who's just relieved him of the ball, he stands there complaining to the referee. Referee's not having it, and Brozovic is getting away, meanwhile.
Yeah. Brozovic goes away, plays the ball wide to...
Do you know what? It doesn't matter. It ends up with Modric.
There we go.
It ends up with Modric.
Kremeric, by the way.
Top of the box. It ends up with Modric. You completist. It ends up with Modric at the top of the box. Otamendi steps out and Modric pulls a move, which we spent a good while recreating here in the office to figure out exactly what it is. I think we ended up calling it the Modric drag.
Yeah. And it's basically he has the ball on his right foot. He knows he wants to shoot because he shapes to shoot, and Otamendi does a good job to block that option. But Otamendi is now in a 1v1 situation. Modric has the ball on his right foot, and he essentially, amongst other little moves, does an exaggerated step laterally to his left while keeping the ball near his right foot. And essentially, Otamendi follows that left foot, so he moves with him. So now Modric has Otamendi leaning the wrong way, but he still has his foot right near the soccer ball, takes a touch to the outside of his foot. I think he accidentally touches it a little bit towards him, then away.
He adjusts.
But because Otamendi is now leaning to Otamendi's right, Modric's left, when he moves the ball back, he's created just enough of a gap to get that shot off.
Because it's more than a step over, right? A lot of players will try a step over where they feint essentially one way, then go the other way. The reason this is so impressive is that we call it the drag. It's because he goes so far left, right? He goes all the way left. If you're Otamendi, there's no way you don't risk going with him.
Yeah.
Because he might just actually be dribbling that way and then you've lost him. That's why it's so great that Modric is able to do that.
And then just the strike. Like, you can see it on the slow motion. He hits it any more like inside and it's saved, any more outside, it probably hits off the post. It is like with velocity and the bend, it is an amazing strike. And I don't know how he knows he's going to pull that off. But just as I said, he is shaping to shoot the entire time. It's just like he knows if I shoot now, it's going in and this is game over. I also want to add, we do have Otamendi. Then later on, he kicks the ball into Rakitic's. Would have been face if Rakitic hadn't turned his head.
He tried.
And I feel like in
this...
He's
got a yellow, right? He definitely deserved a red. I count that as violent conduct.
Yeah, but in like the 40 seconds before the goal, he's beaten by Rakitic in fairly humiliating fashion.
He slides off the field.
Yeah, then he's beaten by Modric with this little move to set up the goal, and I just wonder if he had had enough, and thus he had that little kick out.
I mean, it's almost as if Otamendi was selected as the only centre-back in an entire team. All respect to Mercado, right?
Yeah.
There was maybe 1.5 centre-backs in that back three.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's not over for Argentina. Very quickly, we'll just say it's...
I will say it was over at 2-0,
yes.
But there was just more post-loss punishment to come.
And I only bring it up just because there's one moment that stands out. Croatia counter, they pass, and it ends with Rakitic passing it into the goal past a diving, maybe Mercado, I'm not sure who it was on the line. But the thing that stood out to me is that Javier Mascherano was tracking back to help defend. He thinks that, I believe it's Kovacic who gets the ball out wide, and he just stops and puts his hand in the air and does not move and keeps it in the air and then takes a step and then looks again and puts his hand back in the air. And it was just sort of, that again was very representative of the game as a whole, where it just felt like Argentina were waiting for something to happen and something to go their way, and Croatia were making things go their way.
I would add as well, Leo Messi did track back for that third goal and cut out one of the angles. But then gave up. And he's standing right next to Mascherano. There's also Otamendi a little farther behind, standing there with his hand in the air. Meanwhile, the less senior players on the Argentina roster are the ones scrambling on the goal line to try and make something happen, to try and save it.
Yeah.
To me, this coupled with the thing of, who was it who you said got the ball out the back of the net after the Caballero mistake?
I think it was Perez, but I could be wrong.
But say it's Perez or one of the less famous players.
Or Meza or somebody, yeah.
There definitely seemed to be a split on this Argentina team of the old guard who... I don't know, when the disappointment was happening, they were just like, ugh. And the young guard who was sort of like, all right, we've got to fix it.
Yeah.
Even down to the one guy who was up off the bench after the first goal was Marcos Rojo, right? Yep. Marcos Rojo was up and screaming, like, let's go, let's get it back. There just seems to me to be a split in this Argentina team. I'm not saying there are arguments, but there's a split in terms of the young guys who are just desperate to do something and the old guys who, they've got this cynical, weary, seen it all before quality about them.
I'm with you. And it's strange to say all of that, knowing that they're not eliminated yet. They have the 1 point. A win against Nigeria gives them 4. There's lots of help they'll need, but it's possible. And if they get it all together, then who knows? Maybe this is the wake-up they need. I don't think it is. It felt like you see Sampaoli leave at the end of the game. He gets down that tunnel as fast as he can. Afterwards,
someone was offering him condolences, and he just shrugged them off and kept going to get away from what? Everybody?
Pretty much.
Cameras, people, everybody?
I think he said something along the lines of, like, I misunderstood the game in his post-match press conference, which is not a good thing to hear from your manager. So we'll see if Argentina can pull something back. Obviously, one game to go. But Croatia,
am I putting you on the spot here if I ask you what result do they need? What result needs to happen for Argentina to be eliminated tomorrow?
I think they would need
Nigeria,
for them to be eliminated. Iceland win. Because Iceland have 4 points, they can't be caught.
Got it.
If Iceland and Nigeria draw, then Iceland lose to Croatia and Argentina beat Nigeria on the final day, then I think they would go through with Iceland having 2 points, Nigeria having 1, Argentina having 3. So it's still possible. But I think it depends on a lot of other results, and it depends on Croatia getting another win, which they very well may do against Iceland. But now that they are secure in the next round, do we see their starters? I feel like we probably don't.
All right, Argentina, have a plan, stick to it, good things happen. That's what Croatia did. It worked out. That's what Iceland did against you. It worked out. As we learned with Neymar and Brazil and Switzerland, it is not enough to have a star player and expect him to drag you through the day.
No, it is not. And my final thing that I want to say, because I don't want to end on just saying things to Argentina, I would like to note we haven't talked about Strinic, Vida, Lovren, and Vrsaljko. The back four for Croatia, just immense. That Argentina really didn't have many clear-cut opportunities. The ones they did have, it was heroic defending that shut them down, and even those half chances.
A lot of Vida slides, slide blocks.
And then the ones that, the half chances they got, came about because basically Croatian defenders made very smart decisions or made very good team defensive plays that limited the opportunities and allowed that counterattack to then happen. So it was just, I think, across the board for Croatia, an excellent performance.
Worth noting, they sent Kalinic home.
Yep.
Maybe there's something about team unity. It's better to have 22 players than 23 players, and one of them is refusing to come off the bench.
Yeah.
I think it was
with a quote-unquote bad back.
I've forgotten the head coach's name, excuse me, but I think that was the smart move to eliminate the guy that was bringing people down.
Dalic.
Dalic, yes. Smart move by Dalic.
So with all that said, we began the day continuing the streak of 1-0 results. It ended with a much more exciting result, so I'm going to hope that continues into the next day's games and we get lots of goals, lots of exciting finishes, and lots to talk about so we can go once again over an hour.
So since you bring it up, let's preview, what day is it today? Thursday? Let's preview Friday's games.
I have no idea.
It's probably Friday tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm almost certain.
Time has lost all meaning.
Whatever day it is, it starts at 8 a.m. on Fox Sports 1 with Brazil versus Costa Rica. Then your pre-lunch match is Nigeria-Iceland at 11 a.m. on Big Fox. Then 2 p.m. Serbia versus Switzerland on Big Fox.
Homer Simpson Fox.
Bob's Burgers Fox. I don't know any more shows. Family Guy Fox?
I think we've already stumbled upon the fact that Fox is struggling. Yes. I would say Brooklyn Nine-Nine Fox, but they're on ABC now.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they even took that away from us. Okay, so Brazil, Costa Rica, 8 a.m., Fox Sports 1. The Brazil team news is everything's the same.
Yep.
Yeah?
And that makes Daryl really happy.
But slightly more broken.
Yes.
So actually, no, I'm wrong. There is one change.
Yes.
Danilo, who started at right back in the first game, who himself started because Dani Alves didn't make the roster, is out with a thigh injury. So we think that Fagner will start at right back. This is important and worth watching because I would argue Fagner is the guy that made the roster because he's just a guy Chicha trusts.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't he play for him at Corinthians? And that's why he just trusted him as a backup right back. We get to test this theory now against Costa Rica.
I mean, you could swing that around and say that he's the one most capable of executing Chichi's game plan, so that maybe makes them look even better. But I think one thing that will not make them look better, in my opinion, is the fact that Neymar is going to be in that lineup again. Pulled out of training, left early. I think got another knock in training, had some concerns about his right ankle, but apparently will be cleared to play.
So he wasn't fully fit in the first game against Switzerland. He's since got injured enough that he had to leave practice, and yet they're still going to start him in this game.
Yep.
I'm on record as saying he, at the very least, should have subbed out early in the game against Switzerland. I don't think he should be playing this game.
I don't think he should be either if fitness is an issue. I'm going to hope that fitness isn't an issue and that he's kind of figured some stuff out. Former co-host Albert was texting with me, and his point was...
Who's part Brazilian, right?
Yes. Yeah. He was saying he's fine with Neymar starting if he doesn't slow things down. But if it's him trying to...
In a selfish way?
Yeah, if it's him trying to meg somebody 40 yards out and drawing a foul, or if it's him trying to do a bunch of stepovers and not really facilitating a fluid attack, then there's going to be problems for Brazil.
Other team news we've heard is that Marcelo was captain against Switzerland. Thiago Silva will wear the captain's armband against Costa Rica. But as I understand it, that's not really a big deal.
No, it seems like Chichi favors a captaincy rotation policy, so it kind of changes it every game or every other game. So no surprises there, nothing to read into. Everybody still loves Marcelo.
Everybody still loves Marcelo, as they should.
That could be a sitcom on Fox.
For Costa Rica, we know what they're going to do, right? 5-4-1, transition into a 3-4-3. Look out for Christian Gamboa on his wheels down the right.
Yep.
Look out for Marco Orenia running in the channels and holding the ball up. I would say the only question marks are over... They're going to have the same shape. Do they select a tougher, more defensive midfield?
Like right? Yeltsin Tejada, maybe
Yeltsin Tejada, maybe to step in and build a wall, maybe.
Yep. Well done. I did enjoy, there was like a BBC preview of this one.
Because the other Yeltsin broke one down.
Well done. There was an interview in the BBC with Brian Ruiz, and they asked him for his thoughts on this match, and he said, we know what Brazil are going to do. They're so talented transitioning from the midfield to the attack. They have all these attacking options, and he kind of laid it all out, and then it ended with him saying, so we'll look to sit back and then hit on the brake. And I was like, yeah, we knew that, Brian.
Brian Ruiz, great first touch, great honesty. All right, 11 a.m., Nigeria versus Iceland, which is an island, on Fox. So I was technically correct. Nigeria lost the first game to Croatia, 2-0, right? What do we expect from Nigeria in this game?
We think, based on reports, that Onazi will return to the lineup. That was where he was playing for most of the friendlies and for their qualifiers.
Yeah.
Strange that he wasn't included, especially since he is a superhero.
And why is he a superhero?
I think there's a story in 442, which I linked to in our Athletic article.
Theathletic.com/TSS World Cup for 40% off.
There we go. Good job, Daryl. It was that he chased down a purse thief in Rome.
Purse thief?
Yeah, he chases people down much the same way he chases down attackers for Nigeria.
His replacement, Etebo, scored an own goal in the previous game, which is why maybe we think he doesn't get the nod
possibly
this time. The other thing that we noticed for Nigeria against Croatia is that their marking on set pieces was, in the first half, too soft and tentative. They just didn't grab hold of people quite enough. In the second half, they were overly grabby and they wrestled Mandzukic to the ground and gave away a penalty kick. Maybe a bit like Goldilocks, they'll find one that's just right for this game.
That would be ideal, because I think they're going to have to do a lot of figuring out. We've already praised Croatia for their defensive system, and that is sort of like the junior level defensive system when it comes to Iceland. So whether or not Nigeria can find a way through the compact Iceland that we know and love, where we talked about it in our review of their game, it's going to be that sort of sit back but then send two to step to the dangerous players to cause problems.
That's what to watch for, right?
Yep.
With Iceland, they don't try and tackle you, but two step to the ball and essentially cause a mini blockade in front of you, so you've got nowhere to go but backwards. That's the Iceland system.
Yep.
Then they hit you on the break, or they hit you with a long throw.
Yes. Again, that's going to be interesting to see how the Nigerian defenders, if they can find the Goldilocks solution to those long throws.
Only bit of team news is Gudmundsson, the right winger, came out of the game against Argentina with some sort of muscle injury, so we don't know if he'll be good to go or not.
All right.
Find out tomorrow.
Final game, 2 p.m. on Big Fox, Homer Simpson Fox, Bob's Burgers Fox.
Someone please...
Everybody loves Marcelo Fox.
Someone please tweet at us and tell us another show on Fox.
Empire? Empire's on Fox.
Is it really?
I think so. Well, let's move quickly along. Serbia v. Switzerland, 2 p.m. What do we know about these two? What do we think is going to happen, Daryl?
The thing we noticed in the first game for Serbia is the partnership between Alexander Mitrovic, the striker, and everybody's favourite tall Serbian skillful player, Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. SMS. Yeah. In the second half of that first game, they got it figured out, and SMS was playing off of Mitrovic, and it all worked very nicely. That is a combo.
It is. I will be curious to see who starts in the defense for Serbia and where. Ivanovic started for them in their first game at right back. We thought he might have been a center back. And I'm really wondering if they send any of those defenders forward. Now, they had to in the second half. They ended up getting that free kick goal against Costa Rica, and a big part of that was because Alexander Kolarov started to push forward, started to get more involved in the attack. But Switzerland have those young, pacey, talented attackers. Do you send numbers forward if you're Serbia and risk getting countered upon? That will be interesting.
Breel Embolo did not start the first game, but we're a big fan of his game, right? So that might be a guy that I would start against Serbia.
And then obviously there's the more well-known names like, say, Xherdan Shaqiri, very much capable of driving at a defender, especially a defender who maybe doesn't quite have the legs they did a few years ago.
There you go. Okay, so... we think that Manuel Akanji will be one of the guys to watch, mostly based on his performance against Brazil. So Swiss defender Manuel Akanji, Taylor's eyes just lit up with recognition. Seeing him up against Mitrovic and Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, I think is a wonderful matchup.
That's why they lit up, is because I was remembering some of those like step tackles and the hip tackles that he had, specifically on Neymar when he sent Neymar sprawling. The idea of him going up against Mitrovic, as you said, like I feel like he could handle that physicality. He might be able to body SMS. He might not. That physical challenge alone makes me pumped for this game.
One other thing to look out for in this game, so maybe some geopolitics and some recent history. There will be, maybe 3 or 4 starters on Switzerland. Shaqiri, Berami, Jamali, and Xhaka, who are all of Kosovan descent. I think all of their families left Kosovo when essentially Serbia was causing lots and lots of trouble there.
Yes.
I do not believe that Shaqiri, Berami, Jamali, and Xhaka have fond feelings for the nation of Serbia. It wouldn't surprise me if we see at least some jawing on the field between Serbian players and Swiss players of Kosovan descent.
I would agree with that.
That was the most diplomatic way I could possibly put that.
It was well said.
It's also possible that all these guys are professionals and they don't want to bring that sort of stuff onto the field.
It hasn't stopped them before.
But there's been a bit of talk from Mitrovic. Wasn't Mitrovic saying that, why does Shaqiri have the Swiss flag on his boot if he loves Kosovo so much?
Yep.
So already it's starting up a little bit. So just keep an eye on that.
I'll be looking for, not even those big, studs up challenges. I'll be looking for the little pokes in the back, the Diego Costa slaps, and stepping on the toes, quote unquote, accidentally, to see if the other side responds. That's the type of sort of incident I will be keeping an eye on.
And if you see an aggressive tackle from Xhaka in midfield, that may be just what he was going to do anyway, no matter who he was playing. As always, when watching Switzerland, look out for the fullbacks. Stefan Lichtsteiner bombing up the right, the Swiss Express. Arsenal fans, look out for him. He's going to be playing for you very soon. On the left, Ricardo Rodriguez.
I was just doing that same math in my head.
Ricardo Rodriguez getting forward on the left as well. I think 3 good matchups tomorrow.
Ricardo, Roberto, Rodrigo. It was Ricardo. You got it.
How about in terms of what Serbia and Switzerland each need from this game? So Serbia won their first game. Switzerland tied Brazil. No one's desperate, right? No one's desperate.
I don't think either one of these teams would hate a draw. That said, I think some of these players hate each other, so I think they may be looking for more than that.
All right, so those are your 3 games tomorrow.
But it's worth noting, a win gets Serbia, it qualifies them automatically. So Serbia will definitely want that win so they can get the rest in the 3rd game.
Taylor, I believe I'll be joining you here in the office.
That sounds right.
7:59 a.m. latest to watch that first game, Brazil versus Costa Rica.
Maybe 8:03.
Maybe. No, 7:59 at the latest.
Maybe 8:05.
We'll make sure to watch it.
I'll be here at 9:30.
Listeners, thank you for listening today. We will be back tomorrow for more reviews. If you've enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend. Let people know about the Total Soccer Show during the World Cup. If you want to see us live, check out worldcupcomedytour.com. We'll be going on tour with the Cooligans and assorted guests.
I thought about it. I chose not to return low-key hype man. I figured you were doing a good enough job on your own. You didn't need my amplification such as
I'm
it
going
was.
high-key hype man, just on my own. All right, Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening. We will talk to you again tomorrow.